Donna Patrick, Sunset Hill Tree Farm, and as long as I can remember, especially as a teacher, talking about doing composting was really important. Understanding that we recycle our resources on a regular basis and reusing rather than tossing out things was always important. And so I think I had the first ever copy that was put out of, Worms Eat My Garbage. And so I had worm bins in my classroom. We had compost bins at the middle school. I was composting everywhere we could. So that's always been a big thing for me, because that's such to me, a no-brainer way to recycle and reuse your resources. So whether it be food products, whether it be paper products, of course the woods out here on the farm, we have the leaves, we have animal droppings, and then the stuff from our house. And so we compost in many different ways. We're going to show you 3 or 4 different ways that we use compost on our farm and how we do that. And so let's look at it. There we go. You see that? See those little red wigglers down in there? Yep, those are my worms. So we have this worm composting bin. Like I said, the first time I saw that book, Worms Eat My Garbage, I was completely just into it. And so I've done vermicomposting in many different forms, big and large. This is the biggest I've ever done, and it's really, really cool. All down in here, you can see there's lots and lots of worms. So this is where our food scraps go. Of course, I put leaves and stuff in here as well. We have little pumpkins growing because we put pumpkins down in here. So you can see those little pumpkin plants. And so those are not gonna survive down here because they will be turned over and then composted as well. But this is gonna turn into some really good, healthy soil. And what we've done is we've taken this large black tub, and we buried it about halfway down in the ground. We put holes all in the side and the bottom. So the worms do have the option of leaving. If they want to, they can move on out. Ooh, there was a bunch. And they have, because as I have cleaned out the compost pile on the other side, I've found worms out there. And so we have there's a whole mass of them right there. We have a drier compost pile over here on the side, slower, colder one, and I've seen the worms in there. So they have taken the opportunity to move out of here, and that's fine because they're going either into the compost pile next door or my garden next door on the other side, and that's fine. Both places, they are completely welcome. And so, but a lot of them, as you can see, have stayed here in this compost bin, and we feed it regularly. And so at some point in the future, I will be pulling the castings, the composting out of here and leaving the worms and starting it all over again. And so I'll have lots of worms to go at that time, lots of extra worms, because it'll take a lot of bedding for the number of worms that are in here right now. But what I'll do eventually is, just like right now, they are trying very hard to get away from this light, and so I'll pull them out, put them on a tarp or something, have one side covered, one side in the light, and the side that's in the light will become, all the worms will leave that, and they'll move into the other side. Now there's other things down here besides these red wigglers. There's some grubs of some kind right there. I see those. I probably would pull those out if I was just working today. I'd pull those out and feed them to my chickens, which I may do later. That's for sure. There's all kinds of bugs. I don't know what those things are on the side over here, but there's lots of critters right over here. But you know what? That's okay. They all work together. They're doing their thing. They're breaking down food. They're breaking down leaves and paper, and they're turning everything into soil that we can all use. And so that is, it's a fun composting thing, and it's not, it's pretty low maintenance as far as just making sure that, especially since it's outside, if you have one in the house, you have to deal with the, fruit flies and things like that. So you have to handle it a little bit different. But a vermicompost unit like this outside, it's very low maintenance. You can just let it go and just feed it daily as needed. And then when you're ready to harvest your compost, you just make sure that the worms go to one side and the compost is on the other, and then start all over. So you can start with newspaper bedding or leaves or grass clippings or whatever you want to start as a bedding, and then they will break it down for you. So this is a really good, efficient way to compost, and it's a lot of fun, and the kiddos love playing with the worms. That's cool. So right here beside the garden, between the garden and one of our storage sheds, this is a small compost pile. It's just a coal pile. It's just here. It's just a place for us to put things that need to be broken down. And we've used a lot of the dirt out of this one. It's been here for a long time. It's built up a lot of stuff. It's really easy right here by the garden to put stuff from the garden over into here. And it's been very easy to pull stuff out of here and put in the garden. I don't know if I can get down deep enough to show you the good soil that's underneath here, but there's some cool stuff that I've been using. I filled up flower pots. We filled up some of our potato pots and tomato pots and stuff like that. I can't get down there right now. But underneath all of these leaves, these are some recent leaves that we harvested out of the cell area over there. And we'll just leave them. I mean, when I water the garden, I'll put some water on it. I don't worry about turning it. It's just a cold, slow compost pile. It's just a place to put things so they don't go to waste, and eventually they will pay off and in good soil for us. And so I may be able to get some right here. Eventually, yeah, right down there. There's some really good black. That's compost. That was created by letting this stuff just sit here. And it's sat here for a long time, that's for sure. It's a long-term thing because I'm not turning it. You know, like I said, I don't turn it. I occasionally water it. I just add to it. And of course, you know, with a compost pile, you want a level of greens versus browns, you know, so that you have your biotics and your macronutrients, you know, kind of in balance. But really, I don't pay attention to that here. I just throw stuff over here, and it just happens. But it is slow, but that is absolutely a way to compost. In fact, that's the main way I've ever composted. Almost every compost pile I've ever had myself has been like this: just a pile of stuff in the side of the house, on the side of the yard. And that's just where you put everything. So we don't bag up anything to put on the curb. You know, your green grass that's bagged up on the curb, it needs to go in a compost pile. Your leaves that you rake up every fall, they need to go in a compost pile. And when they go in the landfill, they don't do anybody any good at all. And so having just a compost pile on the side of the house or on the side of the yard is really pretty simple, and they don't smell. Especially if you don't put food stuff in there. If you put food in there, even my worm one over there that we talked about, it doesn't smell. The worms are doing a really good job of efficiently breaking things down, so they don't have time to go bad. You know, so I wouldn't want that in my house. Not like that. I would have a different one in my house, but it doesn't smell out here. It doesn't smell at all. This one doesn't smell. I do put food stuff in here every once in a while, and so it does have some other things mixed into it, but mostly it's leaves and garden clippings and things like that. So that's our smaller compost bin. Okay, so the other day we decided to turn our large compost bins, and I'm going to show you how we did that. So we built these really big compost bins. There's 2 square pallets, a pallet made out of pallets, and we layered leaves, mulch. We cleaned out the cow pens, the chicken pens, the rabbit pens, and we put all kinds of green stuff and everything in here. And so we've got these 2 full, and then we have an empty. And so it's time to turn the mulch, time to turn the compost. And so we're going to take all of this, and we're gonna move it. So Dwayne's gonna bring the tractor over, and we're gonna be moving compost out of one bin into the other to turn it. And so you'll see that process. So, okay, so you can see the 3 big bins that we have. So he opened this one up, and you can see the layers of all the stuff that's in there. This is really hot when you get to the middle of it. If you dig down in there, you're gonna get steam coming up even on a warm day like today. It's pretty hot down there. You can see some good composting that's already happened, but this needs to be turned. And so we're gonna turn this into the empty bin, and then we'll take this one and open it up, and we'll move it into another bin also. We have some oak trees trying to grow in here, but that's not gonna work. We're gonna have to get rid of those. So that's what we're about to do. So he's bringing the tractor. He's bringing the tractor so we can go ahead and move it with the tractor. That's gonna be the easiest way to do it, because this is a lot of mulch. A lot of, we cleaned out the leaves. Of course, you see the woods that we have back here, so we have lots and lots of leaves. And then we had a lot of mulch. We have a mulcher, and so we have a lot of that. And then a lot of animal waste, etc. So we're gonna make this happen. Even if you don't have a tractor and all of this stuff, you can still do this composting in your own backyard. You can do very small scale. This is big scale for us, and we love it because we're going to fill up our gardens with it next spring. But we have a lot to compost, so we have a lot of material. Well, there it goes. That's the first one. We got lots more to go. Ta-da! Smell this. It actually smells good. It's very earthy, very clean, but you can see that the composting has been happening, that it's breaking down. So the wood and all of the carbon, nitrogen, all of the biotic parts of all this are breaking back down, and they're going to turn into really heavy-duty, good soil. Now there's bugs, fungus, Okay, so there's a layer of white fungus right there, and I've heard that's not a good thing, so we just have to be aware, but turning it is gonna help. See that white roly-poly in there? That's really cool. So the bugs are all in here, and they're doing their job. That's what they're supposed to do. They're helping to break this all down. Bacteria, fungi, insects, everything doing their job to turn this into good, healthy soil. So I stuck my hand down in there, and it is hot down there, probably 100 degrees plus. And that layer of white that I saw, that's actually ashes from the stove. That's when, after we dug into it, that's what that is. So that's good. That's not a problem. The ash is good in there. But we can see the breakdown happening. It is happening. I'm so excited about this. I've always wanted to compost on a big scale, and this is awesome. I'm going to show you our other, I mean, we've talked about, and we will continue to talk about some of the other composting methods, but this is the big stuff here. If it was a little bit cooler, you'd see the steam. Well, I can see steam coming off of it here, but if it was a little bit cooler, you could really see the steam coming off. Because it is hot down there in the middle, which is what it's supposed to be. That is beautiful compost stuff happening right there. I'm so excited. Okay, so we're adding water. That's gonna help it really start to break down. He's finishing up over there. I'm gonna see the last couple of loads that he got were really super steamy. Let me see if I can put this in here so it'll stay. And then look at what he's gonna pull out of here. There's the last couple loads out of this one to turn into the other one. Super hot, which is good, which is what you want. We've had a nice wet spring, and so there's been plenty of water in and on it. And there it goes. Woo! That's beautiful. And then, like I said, we're moving it, so it's going to be turned. We're adding the water. So it's getting water added to it, which is what it needs. It needs water because we're fixing to go into this hot summer. So we will have to add water every once in a while to keep it going. To make sure that the breakdown is continuing. It will have to have plenty of water. So we'll just go ahead and add it now while we're turning. There we go, beautiful. And then it can keep doing its thing. It's biological breakdown. And during the summer, like I said, we'll probably move it one more time before next fall or next spring. Yeah, we'll move it in the fall. Then we'll move it again in the spring, and when we move it in the spring, it should be ready to go to the garden. We should be able to take it straight out of one of these bins and straight into our garden. And then, be just healthy, free soil. Okay, so we have bunnies. Right now we have quite a few bunnies. And one thing that bunnies do is they poop. And so rabbit poop is actually a very good fertilizer. It could go in the compost, and it has. We have put some of the rabbit scoops droppings in the compost bin, but it can also go straight onto your gardens. So it's basically pre-composted for you, so you don't really have to worry about it going straight onto plants or gardens or stuff like that. And so rabbit poop is one of those things that we can put in our compost, but we don't have to. We can put it straight on the garden if we want to. Okay, so here in our chicken pen is another place that we do a certain kind of composting. Now, just pulling chicken dirt out of the chicken pens is one way, just the chickens poop. Of course, they scratch and then they plant the carbon, the macronutrients in the form of fecal matter in here, and we can dig that out, we can use it. But here out in the outdoor space, we were intentional about filling this with about 3 to 4 inches of wood mulch. Now you can see back in this area where they don't spend a whole lot of time scratching, it's still pretty thick. I mean, it's still really thick mulch. But over here where they are obviously spending more of their time, they're doing a lot more scratching, probably a lot more pooping. Over here we actually have soil that's been produced and exposed. So they scratch, they mix everything up, they break it down, the composting, they add the nutrients to it to help break everything down. And so this, we have 2 choices. Once they start getting this whole thing broken down, because the mulch in your chicken pen, number one, man, it's so helpful when it's muddy. It is so nice to not have a big mud pit for your chickens and ducks and stuff to be in. So the mulch is very helpful for that. But also it produces a layer of compost that you are able to harvest when you're ready and put it in your garden or wherever you need it, because it's good composted. You know, it's got the nutrients added to it through the chicken poop and duck poop and stuff, and it's been mixed up and composted and broken down, and it's a good place for you to get some good compost for your gardens and your yard. So we can leave it and just put another layer on it and just let it keep building, or we can come in here and harvest some of this and then come back in with another layer of mulch and let it all break down. But as we want them to utilize that back portion a little bit more, break that down a little bit more. We don't need the compost at this period of time, so we probably won't harvest it yet, but in springtime we will definitely be using compost out of here. So it's just another way to compost on the farm, utilizing our animals and our resources to create something that we can make ourselves and we don't have to spend money on. And so that's what it's about. Okay, so we're by the big compost bins again. You saw the clip that we played a little bit ago about where we turned these bins, and you can see that this has gone down quite a bit. We had a really good rain, and so it's compacting, and then as it compacts, it'll break down. Now the 2 things that all compost need, well, 3 things that they need. They need the compost, they need the nutrients, they need the biotic material, they need water, and you saw me watering in that other clip, and they need oxygen. So there are a lot of bacteria in here that need to do their job, and bugs, and there's a lot of things in here, and they all need oxygen. There are some anaerobic bacteria, but you don't really want them in here. You want it to stay an aerobic environment. That means it has oxygen in it. And so the fact that we just turned it re-oxygenated this whole thing, and so the next time we turn it, it'll be oxygenated again. But having the bugs and all the bacteria and all those things in there, and having okay, so the big pieces of wood are really important, and so we're going to show a clip with our chipper shredder that we have, how we break down our limbs and things that we are cuttings from around the farm. We showed you in the big chicken pen where we make that layer, that carbonaceous layer of mulch that's important out there to create more compost and to give us a good surface for the animals to live on. Having those large pieces of wood in here also allows for space, air space. And so having a piece of wood that was mulched, you know, whether it's this size or this size, you're inside of the compost, you're creating space, and that space will be filled with air and oxygen, and so the whole breakdown, the decomposition can continue to happen. And so you'll see, I mean, we're really happy that we have a chipper shredder here that we can use for our composting, that we can use for our chickens, that we can use for mulching our gardens. All of those things are important. So again, using and reusing and recycling our resources, that's so important around here. Okay, so maximizing our resources, all the mulch right here that we used up. So we're gonna rebuild it. Mulching all of these plants. So we finished mulching that pile of limbs, and you can see the most dense or the heaviest pieces fly out here, and then it's lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, and the least are right here. So it's actually kind of a long oval of mulch. But we'll be using this to mulch trees, grapevines. We need to mulch our tomatoes. I don't know if we'll use cedar to do that or not, but this is the mulch that we got today, and it will be used in our gardens, in our orchards, in our tree fields, somewhere, somehow, because we want to use everything we can. So, yay! We're glad we have a mulcher. Okay, so Compost 101. So I hope that you got some good tips, some information. If you still have questions or concerns or whatever that you'd like to ask me about, talk about, be sure and comment. Send us a comment. Send us a question. We'd love to talk about that. If you noticed, there is a tie-in. There's a connection between all of our videos. If you've watched Grass 101 and Chickens 101 or the feeding, if you've watched any of our videos, you see that there is a connection between all of the things. Is that everything is in a cycle. Everything cycles. That's the way the world is made. God made the world so that everything is self-sustaining. So this provides for this and gets from this, and that's what happens. So the nature cycles on our planet work efficiently, and we want to work with them on our farm. And so taking the things that we have that are produced here and using them to produce new things or other things, and feeding. Now remember, you're not a brand new creation. You're recycled material too. Everything that makes you up used to be something else or part of something else. So that's the way the world works. And so if you'll see that thread through all of our videos, and I guess because I'm a biology teacher, that's where I go with everything. But we appreciate you watching. Watch our other videos. Ask questions. Contact us, let us know what you think, and subscribe to our channel. Then you get an update every time we put something out there. We're going to try to keep them going strong. We have Devos with Donna on Monday mornings, and then the other educational and entertaining videos that are out there from the farm. So we just want to share with what we have. We have something very, very special here. We are highly blessed on this farm, and we want to share that with others. And so hopefully, even if you're in the area, in the fall during Pumpkin Patch or Christmas, you could come by the farm and actually see everything in person. That would be cool. But until that time that we get to be together, this is Donna Patrick at Sunset Hill Tree Farm, real farm,